Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon to everyone. We are the group 6B, and today we are going to discuss our topic, which is communication for work purposes. But before we di- but before we start with the discussion, let me read to you our learning outcomes. First, create clear, coherent, and effective communication materials. Second is present ideas persuasively using appropriate language registers, tone, facial expressions, and gestures. Third is adapt awareness of audience and context in presenting or communicating ideas. What is workplace communication? It is a discipline of its own that is unlike academic or scholastic writing. Serves specific purpose for particular individuals, groups, organizations, or departments. When we say workplace communication, it is a different type of communication which particularly not like what communication we use in academic and any other type of communication, as it serves a specific purpose in a certain organization, groups, or departments.
Three things to consider in communicating in the workplace. One is purpose. Nearly all workplace writing is done for at least one of three purposes: to recreate a record, to request or provide information, or to persuade. To answer, focus on your subject matter with special emphasis on the most important elements. 2. Audience. A. Who will read what I have written? B. What are their job titles and or areas of responsibility? C. What do they already know about specific situation? D. Why do they need this information? E. What do I want them to do as a result of receiving it? And F. What factors might influence their response? There are two kinds of approaches: writer center and reader center. In writer center is I'd be happy to assist you with concern. If you have any concern, I'd be happy to assist you. We will send you a copy of your request. The copy you requested has already been sent. I'm happy to let you know. You will be glad to know that. Positive and negative contents. In negative content, I cannot process your request for a credit in your account unless it has. In positive, your request for a credit in your account will be processed after it being investigated by the fraud department. Has been investigated. We are closed after 5 p.m. daily. You may visit us daily before 5 p.m. Wait for our call regarding your concern. Please be advised that you can expect a call from us regarding your concern. Workplace communication will fail the ethics test if it is corrupted by any of the following tactics. 1. Suppression of information. A situation in which important and relevant facts and conclusions that are in the public interest to be disclosed are concealed with or withheld from public domain. Example, a government stopping citizen from participating in a certain activity. 2. Falsification or fabrication. Fabrication is making up data or result, while falsification is manipulating research material, equipment, or purposes, or changing or omitting data or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record. Fabrication is reporting on experiments that never happened or patients that never existed. For example, a case where old paper one shows a bunch of experiments and figures and two from a different research group show exactly the same measurement of figures. 3. Overstatement or understatement. Understatement is a figure of speech in which something is expressly less strongly than would be expected, in which something is presented as being smaller worse, or lesser than it really is. The opposite of understatement is overstatement, in which overstatement is made with more strength than is exactly warranted. Sometimes overstatement is synonymous with hyperbole, which is defined as exaggeration for effect. Example: there has never been a more beautiful day than this, with not a cloud in the sky and the sunlight sparkling off to the dewy grass. 4. Selective misquoting. Deliberately omitting damaging or unflattering comments to paint a better, but untruthful picture of you or your company, misrepresenting numbers, increasing or decreasing numbers, alter, altering statics or omitting numerical data. 4. Subjective wording. Example: words such as beautiful or feel, believe, and think are obvious signs that a writer is being subjected. Language focuses on attitude, values, thoughts, feelings, or beliefs of the person who is doing the writing or speaking. Subjective language reveals the perspective. 6. Conflict of interest occurs when an individual's personal interest, family, friendship, financial, or social factors could compromise his or her judgment, decision, or action in the workplace. Government agencies take conflicts of interest so seriously that they are regulated. A conflict of interest arises when what is in a person's best interest is not in the best interest of another person or organization too, which that individual owes loyalty. Example: an employee may simultaneously help himself but hurt his employer by taking a bribe to purchase inferior goods for his company use. 7. Withholding information. When we deliberately withhold or conceal information from each other, we are doing something called knowledge hiding, an action that can take several different forms. Basically, we hide knowledge because we fear the potential cost of sharing it. 7. 8. Plagiarism is representing someone else's work or ideas as your own with or without their consent. By incorporating it into your work without full acknowledgement, all published and unpublished material, whether in manuscript, printed, or electronic form, is covered under the definition. Example of this is act of claiming someone else's written work as your own unique creative expression instead of giving credit.
Next is we have the three broad categories of workplace communication. First, we have the upward communication. Upward communication is form your position to an audience above you in the job hierarchy. In upward communication, it is a form position to an audience superior to you in the job hierarchy, like in the given example. Like for example, a response to a letter from your manager. The second is the lateral communication. Lateral communication between you and audience within your level of hierarchy. This category pertains to both persons with the same level in job hierarchy as stated in the example. Example, a phone call to or from a coworker you are collaborating with. Third is we have the downward communication. Downward communication from your position to an audience below you in the job hierarchy. This category refers to the communication with you in your level and audience that is below level with you in the job hierarchy. Like for example, an oral reminder to a trainee. And lastly is the outward communication. Outward communication between you and a company that you do business with or an audience outside your workplace. This last category refers to you talking to your other business colleagues that is outside your workplace. For example, a letter of inquiry addressed to a supplier regarding a delivery to your office.
3. Tone. It will set how your target audience will accept what you are trying to say. You do not have to sound tough, demanding, or descending in your discourse, especially in sensitive subjects or issues.
Okay, so let's proceed to two other communication mediums in the workplace. First is minutes. In the previous chapter, it was mentioned that nearly all workplace writing is done for at least one of three purposes: to recreate a record, to request or provide information, or to persuade. So what is a minutes? Minutes are an official record of action the board or committee took at a meeting, not a record of everything that was said. They serve a historical purpose, but just as important, they serve a legal purpose, documenting the group's adherence to the proper procedure and the association's bylaws. Writing a meeting minutes serves the first purpose, that is to create a record of what transpired in the meeting held. It may be tempting a meeting is over when the group members leave the room or log off the virtual space, but after the meeting ends, that's where minute takes place. There is still important work to be done. One of the most important follow-up steps to a meeting is to prepare and distribute the meeting minutes. A written record of the major discussions held, decisions made, and action item assigned.
A good set of minutes should be complete and concise. This means they should be true enough that someone who was not at the meeting should be able to know exactly what happened. At the same time, they should be short and to the point, omitting irrelevant and play-by-play information. In addition, a good set of minutes include action items or specific tasks assigned during the course of the meeting. They should include what the specific task is, who is responsible for completing the task, and the deadline. By keeping a very specific record of action items in your group meeting minutes, your team will become more accountable and your meeting will become more effective.
Report. An incident report creates a written record of a troublesome occurrence. The report is written either by the person involved in the incident or by the person in charge of the area where it took place. Such as report may be needed to satisfy government regulations, to guard against legal liability, or to draw attention to unsafe or otherwise unsatisfactory condition in need of correction. Accordingly, an incident report must provide a true description of the occurrence and, if possible, an explanation of the causes. In addition, it often includes a section of recommendations for corrective measures. Number 1. Name and jobs titles of all persons involved, including onlookers. Number 2. Step-by-step narrative description of the incident. Exact location of the incident. Date and exact time of each major development. Clear identification of any equipment or machinery involved. Number 6. Detailed description of any medical intervention required, including names of ambulances, services, and personnel, nurses, physicians, hospitals, or clinics. Number 7. Reliable statements, quotation, or paraphrase from persons involved. Outcome of the incident. To avoid liability when discussing possible causes, use qualifiers such as perhaps, maybe, possibly, and it appears. Do not report the comments of witnesses and those involved as if observations were verified facts, often they are grossly inaccurate. Attribute all such comments to their sources and identify them as speculation only. Furthermore, exclude any comments unrelated to the immediate incident. Although you're ethically required to be as complete and accurate as possible, don't create an unnecessary suspicious climate by relying on second-hand accounts or report verbatim the remarks of persons who are obviously angry or distraught, as in this example. Ronald Petkins suffered a severed index finger when his left hand became caught in a drill press after he tripped on some wood that another employee had carelessly left on the floor near the machine. Accordingly to Perkins, this was pretty typical of how things are always done around here. A more objective phrasing might look something like this. Ronald Perkins suffered a severed index finger when his left hand became caught in a drill press. Perkins said he had tripped on wood that was lying on the floor near the machine. Recommendations. 2 ideas come to mind. Perhaps we should remind all employees to contact me first rather than security in situations involving personal injury. The sooner I'm contacted, the sooner I can respond. Obviously, time can be an important factor if the problem is serious. To prevent other occurrences of this nature, perhaps the maintenance staff should be provided with large, bright-colored warning signs alerting employees and the public alike to the presence of wet floors. I see these signs I use at the mall, the hospital, and elsewhere, and they don't appear expensive. I have also noted that many are bilingual, bearing both the English warning caution, wet floor, and the Spanish cuidado, piso mojado. No doubt they can be ordered from any of the catalogs regularly received by your office.